Age-old question.
Yes. Is peanut butter bad for you?
I'm going to say it.
Oh, sorry.
Is peanut butter bad for you? Which...
That's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is an interesting one.
It is. And so what we're actually going to do is I wrote a blog on this, and we're going to kind of go through it. I'll be reading through some of it, but we're also just going to go into a little bit more detail on it and, talk about it's more of a deep dive, I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you.
Okay. But if you prefer to read it and not listen to us, we'll have a link so you can just read through it and you can put it in the comments or message me and I'll send that to you.
Sounds good.
Is that what you're going to say?
Nope.
Oh.
But that's good too. So let's just get one thing clear right at the top. There are no bad foods. So there are less than ideal choices. Although I would say the idea of less than ideal is like, does that even mean bad? Because you're not going to eat ideal always.
Yeah. I think there's choices that are always a little bit better too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
But we're not always trying to eat ideally. But the point is, there just isn't bad. And I do want to specify that food is kind of the operative word here. So we're not talking about like grabbing a bunch of metal sprockets and devouring them like a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. Talking about food. As long as we keep food in mind.
Like actual food items.
There isn't anything that you should actually ever feel guilty for eating.
So pencil shavings and chalk.
Yeah, none of that. We're not talking about that. That actually, I would say, is bad for you, and it should be avoided.
Talk to a doctor.
But food in general, and in fact, if you're on a diet that says otherwise, it says like certain food items are bad, just across the board bad for all people all the time, that is an immediate red flag.
Run.
Yeah. So now there are certain choices that are better than others, like we already mentioned, such as apples versus corn dogs.
That's a big difference.
Pretty obvious, like, okay, which one's better? Great. Doesn't mean corn dogs are bad. That's not what we're saying. But more like if you're going to fill up your diet with one or the other, probably go for apples, right? And there's also certain types of foods that should be eaten more frequently than others, such as like having leafy green vegetables versus saturated fats. Those are specific. We don't even, we can dive into that if you want, but I think that's...
You could be more specific about what saturated fats are.
Yeah, but I don't think I really want to, unless you do. Okay.
You can ask.
Yeah, the point is there are different choices. Some are better than others. But the question is, okay, so where does peanut butter fit into that mindset? And rather than like having a black and white, good or bad, or even healthy versus unhealthy perspective, we're going to take a more practical approach.
Yeah.
So, practical, I feel like, is one of those things that can mean different things to different people. Especially because I know that for us, when we're talking about diet and exercise, we have kids.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big difference between the single person going to the gym, getting in shape, and then parents trying to do the same thing. Like, the same strategies don't apply to both sets of people. Yeah.
I always have to laugh when I see so often, and I don't want to be negative about this because they're in different place in life. But when I see like the 20-year-old fitness trainers who are saying, yeah, we're gonna do something super easy, and then it's like this hour-long killer workout that you have to do at a gym. It's like that's not gonna work for us.
Yeah. Sorry, I can barely stand that long, let alone work out for an hour.
Yeah, and that's not that even an hour is all that long. It's just that for a lot of people that's too much. It doesn't fit the schedule. So just to give a little example, since we are talking about peanut butter specifically. So when I was a kid, I lived off of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which...
There's a whole story there.
Is there?
Yeah. Like, you threw a fit because your peanut butter jelly sandwich shouldn't get made the right way. Because you ate them so much that there was a very specific way that they had to be made.
Yes, and there still is a very specific way that they have to be made.
I will not make his peanut butter jelly sandwich.
But when I was a kid, that was all I wanted. And my parents did. They made me eat other foods. Like they were, and sometimes I ran away from home because of it. There's stories about that too. If you want to get into stories about my childhood, I was a difficult child. And I would run away from home if I had to eat something.
You're a difficult person.
Sure, I'm not going to argue that. So the point is, peanut butter and jelly is all I wanted. So again, when we're talking about practical as a parent, if you got a kid like that, you got to keep that in mind. Like, is peanut butter bad here, or is it something that my kid is going to eat this and it's the only thing that they're ever going to not complain about? So I don't know. We're going to get more into the good or bad. But my point is now, okay, so I'm older. We have 2 kids of our own, and I still eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they're delicious. Mm-hmm. And actually, ironically, our kids aren't really super into them. But what they do love are apples with peanut butter or bananas with peanut butter. And as a parent, this is kind of the point I'm making. I have a really hard time reconciling really popular diet advice with the responsibilities of raising children. I want my kids to grow up in a healthy environment. I just don't happen to believe that a diet that forces us to obsess over good food and bad food is actually a healthy approach. Doesn't make sense to me. So if you're like me or us and in your family, peanut butter is just always going to be a staple in the house, you kind of just have to accept that. For us, it is. That's just the way it is. Oh, yeah. I love it. My kids love it. And we're
super picky about what brand we buy.
for sure. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. But the point is, I know that it's a better choice than a lot of other quick snack options. So for that reason alone, it would be insane for us to get rid of peanut butter just because there's like that 22-year-old fitness influencer on Instagram who says it's bad. It doesn't make sense. So the real question is, how can you make sure that you're including it to have a positive effect on your health and consequently then the health of your entire family? So there are 3 things to consider. And by the way, the reason I even wrote this blog is because I happened to come across a bunch of articles saying that peanut butter was bad.
For real?
Yeah. So this is not only is it...
That's mind-blowing to me.
I know. So 3 things to consider for how you can fit this to make it healthy for you and your family. Number 1 is how it fits your diet. So the most common mistake that people make with peanut butter is thinking that it's a good source of protein.
Oh, I should have brought a peanut butter jar for the video. I should have had a prop.
You should have. Well, then we could have been eating it the whole time. That would have made for a great
I had a friend,
conversation.
I had a friend in college who traveled with a jar of peanut butter, and she would like stick her fingers in there and eat all the time.
That's interesting.
That's another fun peanut butter story. Okay.
So you've probably seen this on the labels of a lot of peanut butter where it actually says good source of protein. So you can't hardly fault anybody for thinking that it's good for protein because it's what they're telling you it's good for. Now, peanut butter does have protein in it, but unless you're prepared to like eat a baseball mitt portion size of peanut butter, which, don't tempt me with a good time, right?
I was doing the math in my head real quick.
Just take a baseball mitt and dump a jar of peanut butter in it.
You'd have to get like 8 tablespoons of peanut butter to eat even.
It's a lot. I actually did the math for it when I was doing this to figure out what it is. To get enough protein for a day, you'd have to eat the entire jar of peanut butter.
Which is
for most people.
Like 1,500 no, it's more than...
It's like 2,500 calories, something like that. So it would be, to get enough protein, you'd have to be gaining weight. The point is...
you would need than your body needs to get enough protein.
Yes, the amount of protein that you'll be able to get is insignificant compared to what you actually need for the day and the calories that you'll consume by trying. So what it is a good source of, though, is healthy fats, which are every bit as important as protein.
Yeah.
Which is why I can't figure out for the life of me why anyone would automatically label peanut butter as bad. That doesn't make sense.
Butter.
Yeah.
I still want to see this article.
All you have to do is Google it. You'll find a bunch. So that's, like I said, it's not a good source of protein, but it's certainly not a bad food. So that's one thing to consider is how it fits your diet. Obviously, you don't want to eat it just for the protein. The second thing to consider is how much of it you eat, which you're talking about your friend who just ate straight out of the jar. That could also present some problems. So, but now that you know peanut butter is technically more of a fat, a source of healthy fats, than it is a protein, there's something else that you need to know, which is that fats have a lot of calories. So even though peanut butter is a good source of healthy fats, whoa.
Sorry about that. I was
dancing the camera around.
Yeah, I had to do something on this other computer to get things going.
Okay. It's going now.
It's going now.
So even though peanut butter is a good source of healthy fats, grabbing a spatula and eating half the jar is just not a good idea. So now, and remember, you do need fats to be healthy. So don't be scared of the fact that they do have more calories, because unless you want to completely mess up your body's hormones and all your hormone levels and ultimately become very sick, you can't stop eating fats. You just need to be aware of how much fat you're taking in throughout the course of the day.
Trying to find a balance between everything.
Yeah, and you don't have to count calories to do that, by the way,
Mm-mm.
or grams of fat or anything like that. So a simple solution in the way that we teach our clients how to do it is to gauge how much fat you're getting in your diet by comparing it to the size of your thumb. And with fat specifically, like peanut butter, a serving size is 1 thumb's worth. Yeah. So the number of servings of fat that you need in your diet can vary wildly from person to person. So for example, Megan, you're currently eating around 3 servings of fat per day.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 thumbs worth of fat per day. I'm having around 10 because I am a bigger person and our needs are different. Our goals are different. Yeah. So I'm eating significantly more fats every day. So we can't tell you specifically how much you are going to need, but if you want to know exactly, if you do want to know that, if you want to know how much fat you need, how much protein, all of that, that's one of the things we can help you with if you work with us. In the meantime, when you enjoy peanut butter, just keep in mind, you might only need 3 servings of fat a day, like what Megan's doing, and so maybe just stick to the 1 thumb-sized serving of peanut butter on your sandwich rather than taking,
gobs.
Yeah, more. So
that's what I do. That's how you make peanut butter jelly.
Just put a ton of peanut butter on it. Yeah. But it's just something to kind of remember and keep in mind. It's just that gives you a quick, easy visual. You don't have to look it up on an app and go, how many calories is this? How many grams is this? Go, okay, that's about a thumb. That's a good serving. I'll probably have some fat other times throughout the day, so I'll stick with just the 1 for this.
Easy way to just keep an eye on what you're eating.
Yep. So that's number 1 and number 2 for what to consider with peanut butter. And number 3 is the kind that you get, which you somewhat alluded to. And not all peanut butters are created equal. So the more processed a food is, any type of food, the more extras it tends to have in it.
Mm-hmm.
And while we've already mentioned that, like, there aren't any foods that are inherently bad just across the board, the more foods that you eat that are processed, the more of those extras you get, and the more they add up throughout the day.
Yeah.
That's why we don't approach healthy eating, by the way, or even weight loss by counting calories, just because there's so much more to it than calories. Now, a very processed jar of peanut butter, it might have the exact same number of calories as any other natural brand that's less processed, but that doesn't take into consideration whether it also has added sugar, added oils, just
stabilizers.
Any of those extra stuff. Now, I happen to think that peanut butter specifically is an easy thing to swap out for without sacrificing taste. The one that we get is the Costco brand, which no kickbacks, but if they feel like sending us free peanut butter, that'd be awesome.
That's the only reason we have their membership.
I feel like I don't know about that, but it's definitely a big part of it. I think that it tastes every bit as good, and now actually I prefer it. I don't even like any other kind of peanut butter. So to me, it's an easy one to swap and feel like this is a slightly better choice. It's less processed. But, if peanut butter is one of the few processed foods that you enjoy on a regular basis,
and who cares?
It probably, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. But if you're having it every day, then you could probably make some upgrades and just improve that a little bit.
Yeah, or if the rest of your diet also is a lot of processed foods. Again, that's another one that's just kind of simple to switch out and not feel like you're missing out on anything because you still get peanut butter.
I want to add a tip. Or you still have more?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I mean, I was just going to kind of summarize it real quick, but you can.
Well, I was just thinking, like, for the parents out there who want their kids to eat a little bit better and, they're a little bit demanding, I think there's two ways that you can really approach it. Is one, just go cold turkey. Like, this is the peanut butter we have now. It doesn't have sugar in it. This is what we get. And they'll get used to it eventually, I promise.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you could slowly transition, just like changing the portions of their regular peanut butter and then the new peanut butter, and just slowly get to a point where you're having more of the healthier version of it. So yeah, I was just thinking like a practical approach with kids, because adults, it's easy. You can be like, yeah, I want to make a better decision for my health, but kids don't see that motivation and instant reward. So
yeah, but I also still feel like peanut butter is one of the easier ones with that too, because I don't think our kids notice the difference.
Oh, they love
the sugary peanut
sugar.
Makes sense, but they're still just as happy to eat the peanut butter that we have when that's what they eat for a snack. Yeah. So, like I say, I don't think it's that difficult of one compared to other choices. Yeah, but those are still good tips.
Thanks.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say cold turkey and peanut butter went well together, and I was like, that doesn't sound like a good tip at all.
I think we'd be really bad people if that was the advice we gave.
I agree. Let's agree to never tell people to eat cold turkey
with peanut
butter.
Yeah.
So the bottom line here with all of this is that if you like peanut butter and you can enjoy it with those three things that we mentioned, just how it fits in your diet and how much of it you eat and the kind you're eating, then there's no reason why it can't be a healthy part of your diet for you or for your family.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's it. And ultimately, again, remember, there are no bad foods. Peanut butter is no exception to that. It's way more important to consider your diet as a whole rather than any one single food item.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to leave a comment.
Mm-hmm. We'll get back to you.
Yep, or send a message. Or like we said at the beginning, if you want to read this blog so that you can look back at it later and kind of remember any of the things that we said, let us know and we'll send you the link.
Yep. What he said.
Okay, we can go now.
Goodbye. Bye.